1,692 days since Richard was retaliated against. Oh, let's see, make sure that I'm in. So much news is happening. And of course, we know that the Department of Defense has um, confirmed that Richard was killed in the line of duty on Fort Bliss. Um, this is, goes against the narrative that the media wants to have out there, that the media even pays to put forward, um, because they are absolutely controlled, right? They are absolutely part of the problem. The mainstream media there in El Paso. And today we have the death of, Angel. I hope I'm saying that right. Angel Betran, um, who is a big media, really controller in El Paso, but was from Juarez. He's the Juarez. Well, we have it confirmed that he was Juarez Cartel, owned a nightlife, and yeah, um, very powerful figure. And his life is now he's answering to God. Now he's answering to God. But very connected to KTSM, very connected to David Candelara, Laria, Univision. Of course, that would be connected to El Paso Matters and Bob Moore, who is disgraced journalist, and of course, um, Angela Kachurga. Angela Kachurga, totally disgraced journalist. So it is just an amazing day, and we'll see. There's so much going on because there's a new sheriff in town. President Trump is a new sheriff in town, and his administration. And we have it also confirmed that the first Trump administration in 2020 was absolutely misled, and I want to say lied to. Absolutely. The evidence that we have is that the Trump administration was lied to. They were, um, he was really responding to what was going on and disgust, in total disgust, what was going on at Fort Hood, which is now Fort Cavazos, in the Vanessa Guillen situation. And Richard was named the first CONUS S1 missing soldier under the new Vanessa Guillen absent a soldier flowchart, which was pressured into place because of this battle within the system. And it goes back to the very first the beginning of Richard's case, where um, absolutely we will allege that the paperwork has been tampered with. Well, that that's a good word, allege, right? That everything was tampered with. Yeah, and that they didn't do anything until about the 2nd of September of 2020. Remember, they kicked us out. They didn't even really, they didn't, they just covered everything up because they didn't contact us, and then they kicked us out, and they were just buying time. They were buying time while destroying evidence and trying to form a narrative to keep their butts out of jail because of what was going on with Vanessa Guillen. And bigger than that, they were protecting the $1 billion criminal trafficking network that Richard had exposed, because he was an ethical, um, patriotic young man, with amazing character. And so, and because of that, this was also personal because they didn't have to murder him. They could, he was so young. They could have, with their connections with General Kelly in Homeland Security and General Garrett, the Forcecom commander, that's absolutely, we will allege they are absolutely guilty. I mean, what is General Kelly doing going and working for the governor of Chihuahua, Mexico, right? After, he um, is attacking his own country that's been so good to him, and he has top secret clearance, and then he goes over and works for, you have to take an oath. You have to take an oath to work for the governor of Chihuahua. Yeah, and then that really raises flags with, okay, did he know Beltran, right? Angel Beltran, because you didn't work in Chihuahua and not know Angel Beltran because Beltran, right? Because of the whole media thing, and of course uh, the power that he had being with the Juarez cartel, um, which yeah, it makes your skin crawl, the trees in there, and from my opinion, total traitor, General John Kelly, total traitor, total, because of his connection also with providing shelter for these taken children. And today, listening to the Tucker Carlson Clayton Morris interview, where they confirmed in there, because Clayton Morris and Tucker Carlson are not just some, uh, you know, wannabe podcasters or whatever. No, they have total connection to President Trump. At least Tucker Carlson absolutely does. And they are professionals in what they do, and they absolutely have to be positive and back up everything that they say, um, because they are a reflection of this administration. And and of course, they also have been retaliated against. We've been following them for many years. So, what Tucker Carl said in this interview was confirming is that these children, these hundreds of thousands of children, right, um, in these huge camps, call them death camps, right, were being trafficked. And they just put like the likes of Kelly, sorry, my opinion, um, from all of this, is having his top secret clearance, having his knowledge of Chihuahua, Mexico, and all his connections. There is no way that he did not know that these children that his business was involved in, um, sheltering in these big, massive Sam's Club looking, humongous Walmart sized buildings, um, that horrible things were going on. And we have, from the emergency intake center from 2021 through 2023, I believe, it might have been early 2024, but 2023 for sure. Um, the most outrageous claims that was going on there. And now Tucker Carlson, with um, Clayton Morris is confirming to the public that this was indeed going on to hundreds of thousands of children, and that these children, now they say that they had tags on them or whatever, but our witnesses were saying that they were writing the numbers on their body and on their shirts, on their clothes. This was really bad. And Richard told us, Mom, it's so bad. It's really bad. Um, so they confirmed that these are mostly dead children now. That the worst type of crimes against children were committed against them. And that there was absolutely a flight trafficking network going on. And that's why if you were a pilot, you don't want to admit that you're a pilot. If you were a pilot going out of Santa Teresa Jetport, International Jetport, you don't want to admit it, right? You don't want to admit it. If you were teaching Dallas Hart, flying out of there, and Deborah Sarah West, flying out of there, and you don't want to admit it because children were flown to be delivered to be in the worst type of crimes against them. And, you just, um, well, there's accountability coming. And to listen to this interview today that I posted up and to know that these were officials that were being paid by taxpayers' money, that betrayed us, that used entrusted tools and resources that we were providing them in order to defend the Constitution, but yet they were using it for this kind of evil criminal activity, is also addressed in this interview. And it's something that I hope everyone goes and watches. It's just jaw dropping. Not to us, because we absolutely have been calling it out for 4 years that something was stinky, that something was very wrong. And in the last 2 years, especially, we have absolutely uncovered and exposed and been calling it out, and calling it out. And not only calling it out, but documenting what we have discovered, documenting it and filing it. And it is very clear to us that this criminal trafficking network was using government resources, government authority, government stamps, governments, or some of it's not even stamped right properly, which I'm going to get into. But that they're using our government to facilitate their criminal trafficking network, and uh, they need to be held accountable for that. And clearly, General John Kelly and General McConville and General Mealy and Flag Officer General Garrett, and then 3-star General Donna Martin, and Sean Bernabe, 3-star General Sean Bernabe, and General David Stewart, and Matlock, and Clem Coward, and white, and you know, then Roddick, Lieutenant Colonel Roddick, and what's that colonel's name? Always leave him out, but they know who he is. They know who he is. And we filed his name. Um, and of course, David Park and Jay Pollan and um, um, Ruggiero and all of them. They absolutely, absolutely, y'all, come on. Richard got it. Richard um, was different though. He didn't tolerate these types of crimes against children. And then, of course, the weapon smuggling, um, and this using our government and our resources and everything, our uniforms, our badges, our stars, our stripes, um, our weapons, um, to run this criminal trafficking connected with the cartels and, of course, um, the Sinaloa cartel, which melds with the Juarez. They work together occasionally with the Juarez cartel. Um, just it's very clear that they blend, right? And in Juarez, and with this underlining common denominator with the Mormons, and Mormons are a huge part of this, whether they want to be or not. I know there are probably very innocent Mormons in all of this, but there are very guilty Mormons in all of this, and the Mormon leadership really need to address what is going on. If they don't, that tells you something, right? That they haven't addressed this really tells you something, right? Um, and they absolutely know what's going on um, across this border region, which is the front door to the United States. And um, the other thing is, because they're using our resources and our military, they were using and probably still are the Veterans Administration. And so there's this other common denominator of having so many 100% disabled veterans that seem to be very, very healthy, very fit, doing a lot of bad things up to no good, up to no good. So everything is becoming very clear on how the media is a big part of this, and this is where I think there's going to be. I don't know how it's going to affect. I think, and I'm talking about the death of Angel Beltran, because he's a big media person in that area. And maybe David Candelara can tell us how that's all going to affect things. There might, because this is really a huge criminal network, and we know that KTSM is very connected to Bliss Avenue, is connected to Danae Katzen, who's a fugitive on the four-time, woo, she gets an award, four-time fugitive. Well, she's a fugitive 4 times on the 10 Most Wanted, and married to Jonathan Caleb Ambrose, and very, family to Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia, who also is involved in um, migrant um, activity, and with this Casitas Hoffman, and there's more to it with these um, notaries that are just very connected. And and then, of course, you have the absolute broken judicial and law enforcement um, agencies and institutions there in El Paso, from the uh, El Paso Federal Courthouse, where you'll find Michael Mayella and his son absolutely working with Jaime Esparza when he was the DA, when DA Jaime Esparza was in office during the Walmart mass shooting, with um, with James Montoya, and they absolutely knew each other. Okay, these are friends. These are, they're very connected. The more you look into all their connections, the more you're like, oh my gosh, Anthony Aoun, and Priscilla Mata. You absolutely see their connections within the FBI. Um, Jesus Eddie Nieto Jr. and his connection then into the intelligence on Fort Bliss, his wife, Cynthia Hernandez Nieto, and then, of course, her connection to Bradford Bugado, the lieutenant colonel in the G3 of the 32nd ATCOM Richards Command, and his father-in-law, Nadal Bayim, and connections with this business trying to sell $3 million worth of ammunition to the El Paso Police Department, and also walking into the Dollar General saying, shh, the FBI has found Richard Halliday's remains, and you can take down these flyers. The case is over, and you better be quiet. Shh, this is a secret. This is a secret that we find the partial remains of in different locations of Richard Halliday, and his connection to Western Frontier Trading, and also these luxury cars, which is connected to the suspects and Richard's murder case. So it's uh, and there's more that connects it all. This is not um, uh, something made up. It's all documented. It's all put in there from Leilani Hart's confession on July 22nd, 2020, where she is just claiming every red flag behavior, the worst type of crimes against children within her own family, um, in her own family, within her own family, doing to others, to other children's, even to military dependents. This was all going on. And, so this, this is not a mistake how this all is all fitting together. Um, the glove fits here. The glove fits here, right? And it is really calling out something that is so undeniable that even Tucker Carlson will risk everything to talk about the criminal trafficking there in El Paso, in the United States, and connecting the pilots, the flying of these children to wealthy, um, um, worst type of people. And this is, you know, uh, just a blessing that President Trump has designated the Sinaloa cartel a terrorist. Well, I should say the big T. I shouldn't say it because I might, you know, get shadow banned. But these organizations, because everything changes legally with doing that, and he really means business there, doesn't he? He wouldn't do that unless he meant business. And now we know all about the auto pen not being legally or constitutional as far as uh, the pardons go, right? So he really means business here, and I think from what we're hearing in El Paso, in the courthouse, and with the judges in the El Paso criminal law magistrate court, from in the courthouse, those judges from all over El Paso, James Montoya and his 2028 stamp, his illegal uninstallation that he never failed installation, his failed installation now that The El Paso County attorney now is trying to help him cover it up. She had that stamp, the 2028, right? And that all, to learn the system, you have to learn the system to understand it, because Delia Broines, I hope I'm saying her name right, but she's the county clerk. She's also the wife of a judge. It's all connected here, and I think, shouldn't that be illegal? I think that should be illegal. But anyway, um, but her policy is that she does not take anything turned in by hand. You have to do everything through the automation, right? Because it gets a stamp, then it gets a timestamp. And our open records don't really show that. So don't show that. So there's some really questions in all this. So every little forensic, you have to look at every little forensic detail, because um that tells the story. That tells the story. And the story here is there's a lot of tampering, there's a lot of fraud, there's a lot of and that tampering is either erasing things, like they erased out of Richard's file that he got that terrible Phil Grade Article 15 as retaliation, because they founded it on the framed, um, which, and uh, I don't even like to talk about it because they'll take those words. But uh, what I'm saying is they will tamper, and they will. That shows them to be so guilty that they had to whitewash it, that they had to remove it. And the same thing with Judge Roger Rodriguez's report. They had to tamper with that. And they removed it. And we have confirmation through the CID. Todd Howell, not that he's innocent. He's not innocent at all. He's not a good guy at all. He's not a good guy. He's, uh, very familiar with the Hart family. But he did confirm that this was erased and tampered with out of Richard's file. So there is so much fraud and tampering and manipulation and everything. And we see that also in the media coverage of this story, their manipulation, um, and their lack of coverage of the things that we have exposed with Montoya, with Veronica Escobar, with the magistrate court, with Michael Mayella, um, the DA's office, and the federal courthouse. The lack of coverage, and now, are they going to cover um, uh, Tucker Carlson's amazing interview with Clayton Morris, because it absolutely has everything to do with what's going on in El Paso and these flights, what's going on at Santa Teresa Jetport. And a really biggie that they do is they call out Governor Abbott, rightfully so. And that made me pretty emotional today. I did a little recording, and I never posted it because I was just way too emotional in it. And I decided not to post it because I was thanking God that finally they are absolutely coming out against Governor Abbott, rightfully so. And we know quite a bit about his administration, and his administration is absolutely connected to the fraud, waste, and theft and criminal activity there in El Paso, from West Star Bank to El Paso Community Foundation to El Paso Matters to um, the all of the millions of, well, the hundreds of thousands of children that were taken, that were the worst type of crimes committed against them in these death camps. And absolutely, uh, the entrance of unvetted migrants coming in to the country, and all of the expenses and everything like that. They really and what happened in all those yeah, it's just all the fraud, all the fraud that hurt so many businesses, that hurt our infrastructure. When you travel, you see other infrastructure, what could be, and you see the fraud, waste, and theft, and we get, really the infrastructure gets so bad, and that also assists in motor accidents and everything like that. If our roads are in bad condition, um, if our cities are in bad condition, it also adds to all kinds of other problems. And so, this is just one big domino effect. And Governor Abbott is absolutely to blame in all of this. And I'm just very, very grateful that they're finally calling him out, because that allows us to tell people, um, and we know it's just so bad, y'all. And we have admitted to the public that the Secretary of State of Texas tampered with Bill Hicks's timestamps, also now with Montoya. So it's absolutely a compromise administration, and Governor Abbott's. It's just such a glory. It's just I'm so glad. I'm so glad, because all of this truth needs to come out. And I know it's hard, really difficult for people to understand that it's not about left and right or whatever. It is about this billion-dollar criminal enterprise that really wants to do us harm, and has done us harm, and has well, I lost my son, right? And many other families have lost their loved ones, and uh, it's just so hard to express it for people to understand where we're coming from. And I try to do my best, because when you have a small business and you work really, really hard and you lose it, right? You lose it. Um, During that whole closure mandates and all of the PPPs, and that all that corruption that was so corrupt, y'all. It was so corrupt, and you have people that just lost their livelihood. I don't want to lessen that, Um, there's so many victims in this. There are so many victims, and I really believe that that is why President Trump won. And he has now a very heavy, heavy burden to bear, because he did get the mandate. And with that mandate, it's not like he can't follow through, because people are just so sick and tired of all of this, and have been so patient, so patient, that he better follow through, right? And so to see him um, try to, well, he did. He got rid of the Tren de Aragua, the Venezuelan gang members, and the judge, a judge trying to tell the chief magistrate, right? The chief magistrate, that he can't get rid of this national security threat, because that's what that gang is. That gang is a national security threat. Um, it's just the most absurd thing to see a judge do this. Um, and, so of course, they're gone. They're gone. And so, this huge, huge task that President Trump, is faced with. Um, it's knowing his, in 2015, I posted it, knowing his financials, which show the what he's capable of. When you have built multiple, I mean, so many towers around the world in different countries, and then resorts and hotels, and then companies to support uh, the hotels and the resorts and the big buildings and everything like that, and all of the in different countries, um, it gives us like, if you're going to pick a person to take on this task of using our government um, to facilitate, to run a criminal trafficking network at our borders, you know, I'm going to pick someone like President Trump, right? Like President Trump, someone who has this experience with all of these situations, um, all of these different countries. He had to deal with all the laws of all these different countries, all these different personalities from all these different countries in order to do this year after year, all this experience he has. And this is an international problem. He's going to have to deal with many, many countries. Um, and of course, you see that with, I think it was El Salvador that got the um, Venezuelan gay members, right, to be put in prison. So he's going to have to really negotiate with all of these countries to take on this task and to give us our country back, And of course, the American people were very patient. People say we're not patient, but we've been very, very patient, and very peaceful, And that's one thing also that's addressed in the Tucker Carlson and Clayton Morris interview, is that they're saying, "Where are the men? Where are the men?" Well, I can tell you where they are. They're there. And I did disagree with them saying that the women are so bloodthirsty. Uh, I think that anyone doing this, male or female, are bloodthirsty. It's just that women, maybe express it a little bit more or differently. And so for men, it might be a little bit more outwardly, but no, these are absolutely men and women that are totally bloodthirsty, that did this criminal trafficking for oh, whatever demonic reasons they have. And it's not, of course, you can say it's all about the money and you got to follow the money. But I think it's more, and I think what they did to Richard was absolutely it was personal, because they could have absolutely just reassigned him somewhere. And, and, you know, um, but they didn't want to do that. They were very personal, and they were very personal, very destructive with his remains, and they were very personal and destructive, retaliatory when it came to all of what they did to him before they killed him. So yeah, I think this was very personal, and you know, uh, when you make a video where you're like, I'd rather burn my money than spend it on whores and blow. I think he sent a clear message to them that, uh, you know, yeah, that they weren't going to be able to compromise Richard. And so it was personal to them. The let me make sure I have so much that that's coming in that I wanted to cover. And the main thing is I hope that you really watch this interview, because I think that the tide has changed. And, of course, I had that dead snake, um, uh, in my path when I was doing my walking today. And, to me, as soon as I saw it, I was really happy because, of course, this is the Ides of March and this is tomorrow, or it's today already. Today is St. Patrick's Day, and knowing St. Patrick and getting rid of the snakes, and uh, the whole meaning of a dead snake is such a positive thing, um, for this case, and I think it's a huge shift towards um, even more accountability, and I think um, that it's going to be even bigger than what we think. The accountability coming from the messages that we're getting. And it is just a patience thing, and um getting it's huge, y'all. It's so big. um and it's interesting that a major player on the border, Angel Beltran, is now no longer with us. Okay, no longer with us. And I think that's going to shake up a lot of things. At least it's going to shake a little bit. It's going to shake a little bit, because anytime there is a power shift or a power void, there might be a power void. I don't know who's supposed to take his place. That is a shaking. So, yeah, just putting that all together is huge. So thank you, Danielle, for coming on. Thank you, Anicia, for coming on, and your prayers and your love. I really, really appreciate it, day after day, to do this. And you know, having this confirmation that President Trump in his first administration was lied to about Richard. And we know that they tried to smear Richard. They tried to put forth um, these false narratives about Richard. They left out that he was distinguished undergraduate for basic training in AIT. Does that matter? It does matter. It does matter a lot, because that's how the media works. If they want to find somebody, if they want to produce something, they're going to doctor up the photo, make it look really good, say the positive positive traits. And they didn't do that with Richard. They didn't. They absolutely went on a smear campaign, and Richard has only only positive traits, as far as they are concerned. Being his record is sparkling clean, and they didn't want to mention his 3 a.m.s. They didn't want to mention his promotions, um, uh, with waivers, because it was before his peers. They didn't want to mention that he was God on bearer. They didn't want to mention that I had to push all of that with our team. We had to push it and push it, that they mentioned that he was a distinguished honor graduate. Um, and really, why we push that is because of seeing their reaction. Their absolute just, they just they didn't like it. They didn't like it. They clenched their teeth, and we're like, wow, that really shows that they are involved in a cover up, and something is stinky here. Otherwise, they would have absolutely agreed with us to put out with the PAO statements like this. And I think that to be very fair, before they orked um, Brigadier General Stewart, he did try to do that, right? He did try to put out a PAO. He did do that. And he did give us a lot of information. And then they clicked his heels together and they transformed him into really one of them, an orc. um, and you know what that means? That he was, I don't want to say forced, but near forced. I watched it with my own eyes, and I just felt almost sad for him. You know, it's so sad, sad for him because he had a huge choice. Um, like so many other military officers and soldiers at the time, to say no, I'm not doing that, and really give up his career temporarily. He couldn't see in the future that President Trump would return again. Um, you know, he was probably just weighed his family, and he did the Faustian deal. He sold his soul to the devil, and I saw it with my own eyes, and it's pretty sad. Um, and you see this with other generals coming in now that were very retaliated against, but now they are trusted parts of our military just in the last couple of weeks, right? So it is really a remarkable time, how fast everything is going and the feedback that we're getting. And I do I try to be as honest as I can, uh, as on as honest as I know, whatever I know. And what I know is that Governor Abbott's administration is up to no good, and that was confirmed today. I've known that. I've hinted at that. I've probably even said it. Um, we have filed it. One of the and I did mention this, that one of the hardest letters for me to read, that we filed, um, and I didn't even expect it to be one of the most difficult letters to read, but it was Jane Nelson, the Secretary of State, when we were editing that. It was so difficult, because the betrayal of these stamps, the time stamps, it's so severe, and she did it. She did it. And that's Governor Abbott's administration. And so it was really, it's a total turn today. This is what Tucker Carlson did. He let the public know that it doesn't matter if you're claiming to be a Republican or a Democrat. What matters is the rule of law. That's what was absolutely expressed today. And it was such a relief for us, because getting Richard's remains is so political, right? There has to be a political demand, um, for what is right. What is right. And so that interview, I think, just gave the public the information needed. It's a whole shift in the paradigm. That's what that was. And we're so grateful for that, because we need to do what is right. And we have all those children, and most of them from Guatemala. You learned today that interview was amazing. Um, so many from Guatemala. you know, Christ have mercy on us, right? And and then all these weapons that are needed to protect this criminal network. And we need to stop protecting the criminal network. And clearly, Governor Abbott protected the criminal network. Um, and of course, Veronica Escobar did. We've known that for a long time just because of her involvement in the Walmart mass shooting. But that means that Governor Abbott also protected the false narrative of the Walmart mass shooting. So, from both sides, this is being revealed, and we should be really thankful because I think as a country, this will bring us together again. If we can weed out these bad players, um, hold them accountable for what they've done, then it will bring Americans together again. It's these false narratives and everything, and these bad actors in order to protect their criminal networking that has tried to divide us, divide and conquer us. And so I think today, or whenever he published that yesterday, is a major shift and a clear message from President Trump's administration that they're not tolerating anybody. It doesn't matter which side you're on. They're not going to tolerate if you were protecting this criminal network who is now designated as a terrible organization. That's the message that we got from it, and we hope that we're right on that. Um, and so, yeah, keep praying. And also, don't forget what I mentioned yesterday. In order for this administration and any of our agencies and institutions to act, to do the right thing, they need to hear from us. And that's why documenting and filing, um, and there's bad actors that will absolutely file against good, right? So that's why, I asked if you have a few minutes, you absolutely need to write and file, even if it's anonymous, um, and file, and let the administration, let the FBI, let the Department of Justice know that you don't want this criminal trafficking anymore in your country. So, or whatever grievance that you have that is absolutely harming the United States. Thank you so much. God bless you. And I will be back on tomorrow, God willing. Bye bye.